Welcome to another edition of the Sitecore PowerShell Extensions training series. Hi, I'm Michael West. Today I'd like to walk through running commands with PowerShell. And the main commands that I like to use are get help, get command, get verb, and get member. And as always, if you'd like to download the Sitecore PowerShell Extensions module, you can get it at the following URL. Check out our blogs and contact us through Twitter. So right now I'm in the PowerShell ISE from within Sitecore, and once again the best command to get started with is get help. And if you highlight the command and press Control Enter, you'll get the pop-up for the help. And as you can see, what we get is a very brief synopsis of what the command does. The different syntax is available, a more detailed description which references other help documentation, websites, etc. Details on each parameter and how it works, what its purpose is. And another main section that I like to look at is right here for examples under notes. So you'll see all these examples. So it shows you how to run the command and perhaps what the expected output would be. And so you should see the examples for really any command that you get the help on. And so let's run some, let's do some examples of running get help. So I hit escape to exit out of that window, and if I do name parameter and the command I want, and if I execute, you'll see that down below we get the same help documentation. I could also simply highlight it again, Control Enter, and I'll get the same thing. So at this point, running get help dash name get command, it's just more work. So I could just highlight it, Control Enter, and I get the help document. So here I can see that get command lists commands, lists all the available commands, and these are the different ways in which I can run it. And I'll go into more detail about what all of these little brackets and square brackets and angle brackets, and some are there, some are not, and I'll go into that. Yeah, so you should see this on all commands. It should give you some more insight on how to run the command. So let's say, for example, I want to list all the commands that are available. Well, I can execute get command, and here we have aliases, functions, commandlets. Commandlets are basically compiled code that is available to you. So get command is a commandlet, and here we can scroll down, find it, get command, here we go. And this tells you which assembly it's located in. So you could do filtering on what assembly it's located in, or which module it's located in. And as you've noticed, I've run two commands so far that started with get and had a singular noun. That's the pattern that you'll find in PowerShell. It's verb dash noun, and then any parameters. Parameter is something that accepts an argument. So for example, name, get help. This will get the command get help, as you can see here. A switch, such as verbose, and there's going to be like debug, error, action. These are switches, so they don't require any kind of argument. So it just works. And a switch is something that it's either present or it's not. And a variation of that would be like true or false. So you can toggle it with some kind of variable in your script. If you're writing a long script and you want to switch something on and off, this is how you could do it with a true-false value. And if you hear snoring in the back, it's my beagle, Lucy. So now we've run get command for get help. Another good command to run is get verb. So this will show us all the verbs that are available. So here we see some common verbs, and then we see some data verbs, and so on. These are the approved verbs. So for example, if I look for like remove is an approved verb, but I don't believe you'll see like delete, because delete is more specific to like a file, whereas remove can be very generic across any context. It removes something. So and there are matching pairs, so like you'll have add, you'll have remove, you'll have, I don't know, expand, compress, those types of things. So as you're looking for commands to use, just know that there's an approved list. So for discoverability, if you know what the verbs that are available, then you know that you're not going to be looking for delete, you're going to be looking for a remove, and so on. So once again, get verb, that's a really good one to run. And get member. This is a really good one for discovering what's available. So in this case, I ran get member, but it's one of those commands that requires a parameter, whereas get verb and like get command, they just run and they output something. But get member, I need to specify an object. So in this case, the object here, the input object, it's really going to be like if I were to do get process, so get the list of running processes, then the input object becomes the process into get member. So in this case, I'm piping the output of get process into get member. So an alternate way of doing that is get member input object get process, and I believe this should work. I never run it this way, so here we go. So when I did get member for get process, this is what was returned back. Now in this case, when I ran it, get process returned an array of objects, and so I'm really getting the member details on an object array. So I haven't really experimented with that to figure out what would be the alternate way to do it, but if you just pipe it to get member, then you'll see that the output is different. It'll show me the system diagnostics process, and then these are the properties and methods and events that are available. So for example, if I run get process, I like to know what properties are available. Perhaps I want to format an output and only get the name and the amount of memory used. But let's say I want to stop a process. Well, I can scroll down and look for a method, and this one is called kill. So there's a void method called kill, and so if I were to call kill on every process, well then it would stop every process and the computer would shut down and so on. So you don't want to do that. So very basic usage. Get process, pipe it to get member, and you will get this output. So once again, we've got get member. If you pipe any of your commands to get member, you will see details about the objects that are within get process or get command or whatever you pipe it to. So the types that are being passed in through the pipeline will be displayed. So another example to give you an idea. So if I did get child item, so in the context in which this command is running, get child item, it is returning Sitecore items. So here, by piping get child item to get member, we see that the items returned are Sitecore items, and these are the methods and properties that are available to use. So if you were using like .NET Reflector and you were wanting to figure out, okay, what properties could I set, or what commands can I use, such as I want to move the item somewhere. So you'd either have to go to another tool, or you can run it in this format and you can get the same list. Okay, so I think I've beat getMember into the ground. And so the next thing I want to do is just play around with get help and get command and so on, so you can get more familiar with using. So one thing that I often do is I'm looking for a command, and then I want to know all the commands that have a certain property, a certain parameter. So if I run get command, and let's say the name of the command is get help. Let me run that real quick. Okay, but I want to know everything that has a particular parameter. So for example, if I was running like remoting commands in PowerShell, so if you're not familiar, in PowerShell it has a remoting framework that allows you to communicate with other servers or other desktops, for example. There's a parameter called computer name, and if I ran get command parameter name computer name, then I see all the commands available that have this parameter name, this parameter computer name. So this tells me that if I'm trying to connect to other servers, well, I can use those specific commands because they all have the computer name, which in essence tells me I can connect to another computer other than the one that's local. So for example, I don't see get item or get child item in here. So that means that it will only run locally. That command specifically will only run locally, whereas all of these others implement some type of remoting feature, whether it be the WinRM, which is the PowerShell remoting, or some RPC, remote procedure call remoting. So we'll get more into that in future videos, but for those that know about remoting, that's a trick that you can do. For those of you who don't know, well, that'll be something that comes up. So we've done that. Now another thing to show you is when I ran the get verb command. So let me run it one more time. I received a list of all the approved verbs. So if I want to know all the commands that, let's say for example, have the get verb, then I can run get command with the parameter verb and pass in get. So now I receive all of the get commands. So if I want to do the same for remove, just change that. You can also look for the nouns. So if I want to know everything related to item, so these are all the commands that have a noun of item. Now you can use wildcards. So for example, I can do that, and so it'll be all the commands that have a noun that starts with an S and then anything after. So here we have SQL, we have secure and SQL, schedule, and so on. So supports wildcards, and if you were to check the help on it, so let's do that real quick. Control Enter. We can scroll down and look for examples, and let's see which one would have what we did. Not seeing that example. However, if I go to up here somewhere, okay, so here we have noun, and then we have verb. We could actually pass in a list of verbs. So this is telling me that I can have an array of strings, so I can have more than one verb. I didn't see the wildcard example, but that's okay. So if I did verb again, I could say I want all the verbs that are get and all the verbs that are remove. So here we get and remove. So pretty straightforward. And I'll just briefly touch on how you use variables, arrays, and hash tables, but that's really like a whole nother video. In that last example, when I did get command verb, and then I had get and remove, this is an example of an array. You may also see it written like this. This is an array of strings. And so in the future I'll go more in specifics on how this works and ways that you can use that. If you go back to the help, you'll notice that there are quite a bit of parameters that support arrays. And in this case, these are arrays of strings. So I can run get command dash module and then comma separated list of names of modules that I want. This works whether you're in the PowerShell ISE for Windows or in the PowerShell ISE for Sitecore. It's just a PowerShell feature. All right, and I think that's it for today. The next follow-up video will talk more about using variables, arrays, and hash tables, and we'll get into working directly with the Sitecore API in PowerShell. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.